Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a new video in this series of PHP videos. In this lecture, we are going to talk about strings. The chapter itself, it's pretty long, so I decided that we need 2 weeks to cover this chapter. In this first week, we're going to talk about strings. We're going to see how do we treat strings, how do we deal with strings. We're going to see a long list of functions that help us with strings. And then next week, we're going to talk about expressions, regular expressions, evaluating expressions, and then we're going to talk about how do we compare strings and how do we make decisions using strings. Strings is basically any string is a collection of characters, and strings is a way to present information to the users, or to store information, or to process information. And it's a really important type of information, because most of the time you use a string to communicate with the users of your website, and also in a lot of cases, which we're going to see today, you can use string to process information. So for that reason, we will have a whole class today just to talk about strings and how do we deal with strings, and we'll see how things are going to go. So this is again my server, AWS server. This is my website. I'm going to be showing you today something because I've got a lot of questions about it. So let me just continue. Before we move on and talk about strings, let me just navigate until I get my HTML folder. So change directory to the root, change directory to var, www, HTML. And then if I go list, here are my files in my HTML. Now, I've seen a lot of students, they're telling me that every assignment they create a new server, because they said every time I go to the page, it's going to give me the original page that I had before. Well, you don't have to do that. Well, first of all, you can delete that file that you have from last week and create a new one if you want, but you don't have to delete anything. As you can see, I have a long list of files here. And if I want to have access to any of these files from my web browser, all I have to do is just start with your IP address, or if you're going to use your Amazon URL, just put a backslash here, or forward slash, sorry, and then you type the file you want to have access to. For example, I'm going to go and type games.txt. So here, games.txt. And here it is. I do have access to that file. Now, if I want to have access to another file, for example, facebook.png. Uh-oh. What did I do? Let's refresh the page. Facebook.png, and it's giving me a picture. So you can have access to any file you want here just by typing the URL of your page and follow that with the forward slash, and you put the name of the file you're trying to have access to. Let's see, what else do I have here? I can go to this mystyle.css if I want to have access to it. Main style, sorry. So main style.css. Oh, I think I misspelled it. It's uppercase S. And it's showing me the CSS file. So you basically can have access to any file you have in your server just by typing forward slash, and you type that file. So the only file that you can have direct access to it without the need to do any forward slash or backslash, it's your index file. And that's, in my case, is this file here. Okay, that's the file that's going to be opened directly when you go and you put your URL or IP address here. So this is, again, something related to some questions that I got lately. So let's go ahead and talk about the string. So what I'm going to be here, I'm going to create a file. Let me just go with a sudo touch, and I will call it string.php. So this is my file. This is the one that I'm going to be working with. So if I go lists, you should see string.php, which is here. Now if I want to go ahead and write something here, so nano sudo. Oh, by the way, we do have other editors beside Nano. One of them is called VI and VIM. they're a little bit advanced comparing to Nano, and they're not that easy as Nano. So that's why I'm sticking with Nano. But in reality, if you want to get really, really into Linux, you need to learn about VI and VIM. Anyway, so let's go ahead. We're trying to Nano string.php, which basically going to give me this empty file. Let's go ahead and put the structure. Duck type, of course, HTML. And then after that, we have the HTML open, and then HTML close. And let's just go ahead and put the head. Let's close the head. And I really like to make my file look structured very well. So I like to use those tabs as much as I can. So let's go ahead and put the body here. And let's put the body close tag here. And here it is. This is my HTML file. Now in this area here, as we know, question mark PHP. And let's go ahead and close that. And this will be my area where I can play. So let's start with the very basic simples. A string, as I said, is basically a collection of characters. It's words that we use, in other words. So we can use strings basically in two formats. Literal values or literal strings or variable strings. So I'll just go and show you two examples of them. A literal string is basically when you come here and type echo, and you type hello CIST0272 PHP, and I will put dot. Well, there's no need for me to put dot. I'll just come here and put a break line. This here is what we call literal. Literal basically means it's just going to show it as it is. It's going to be using it as it is. And in my scripting or PHP script here, I cannot have access to hello CSS again unless I type it again. So this is what we mean by literal. Basically, it's when you use the string directly without actually storing it in an actual file. So that would be the case here. Now we have another case, which is using variables. And to create a variable, again, you need to start with a $. Always remember that. And I will just call this one STR1 because we're going to be creating a lot of strings, equal, and then you start creating that. To create a string, you have two options. You can use 2 double quotations or 2 single quotations. I personally, again, like to use a double quotations because other programming languages only stick with double quotations. So since I've been doing this a lot with other programming languages, I'm just going to go with the double quotations. And now here, I can type my name, for example. And this is, again, what we mean by a variable string. So you create a variable string, and then if you want to actually show it on the screen, you go ahead and type echo. And then, for example, I can say here, my name is, and I'll come here and put a $, STR1, and then I will put a break line here, and of course we'll put a semicolon. So here we go. This is how we create strings. Basically, you can use it directly like I'm doing here. You put it in an echo statement, or you can create a variable and then you can use it later. Like every time you want to have access to Ahmed here, you can just type $STR1 and you'll have access to it and you can use it in your program. So this here is what we mean by string. Now, just to give this a try, I'm going to save it. Now remember here, this file is called string.php. So if I come here and type string.php, you can see here, hello CIST272 PHP, my name is Ahmed. So this is something not new. So this is something we covered before, and it shouldn't, like, we know this already. That's what I'm trying to say here. Now, operations that we can apply for strings is very simple one. The basic one that we're going to be using today is what we call concatenation. Concatenation basically means when you have two strings, you want to put them together. And we do that, and we use that technique a lot. And there are two ways to do that concatenation operator, or use the concatenation operator. And to do that, I'm just going to show you an example. Let's go ahead back to my file. And in this area here, for example, let's just go and type a $ first, name. And I will assign it to the str1. So whatever the str1 is going to be assigned to the first name. And I'm going to go ahead and create another, let's go last name. And this time I'm going to actually assign it to a name. And that will be it. And then, I'm going to come here and create another variable. I'm just going to call it full name. Now the full name here, what I want to do, I want to put my first name and my last name together and show it on the screen. Now I'm just going to create two versions of that last name just to show you how does it work. So my first full name will be my first name separated with a space and then the last name. So here's what we can do. You can come here and type $ first name with uppercase N dot. This is the concatenation operator, which basically when you put strings together, I have to follow that with a space. Otherwise, the two words are going to be really connected. There's no space between them. And then I can come here and type last name, and then I have to follow that with a break line. So we can go to the next line. So this is my full name first one, or I can do it a different way. Full name, let's call it 2, for example. I can start with the last name dot, and then after that I follow that with a comma space dot, and then I put first name dot, and then a break line, semicolon. And now I can come here and just show them on the screen. I can come here and say echo, and I'll just put $ full name, name1. And if I want to do the same thing for the other one, echo full name 2. Let me save this, and then I'm going to come back and update this and change it a little bit. You want to save it? Yes. Let's go back to the page here, refresh it. Oh, that didn't work. I didn't save it yet. Now, let's refresh it. And here it is. You can see Ahmed Kinani, then Al-Kinani, comma, space, Ahmed. This is how the dot operator works. Now, I can actually change that to look a little bit different, but I'm just going to go and do it here. I can come here and create, I'll call this one STR2. And STR2, let's say we're going to assign it to STR1. So we got the first name assigned there. And then here's what I can do. I could come here and say $STR2 dot equal space. So that's going to add space after the first name. And then after that, and it's going to update str2 to equal my first name plus the space. Then I could come here and say str2 dot equal last name. Okay, so that will add my last name to it. And then after that, I could come here and put str2 dot equal, and let's put a break line, BR. Now you may ask, why would you go through all that? Again, yeah, that's exactly why would you do that. You have this option, but sometimes the process of updating your string may not be, you may not be able to get it done in one single string. For example, you got the first name, but you don't know what's the last name. Your last name, you're going to get it later, for example. So you just need to find a way, how do I keep adding it to it? So this is basically what we're doing here. You're updating your string 2 as we get the data. So now that we have all these data, I can come here and echo $str2, and that should be exactly like format 1. So let's go ahead and save it. Yes. Let's go and refresh the page. And you can see here I'm getting the exact same value. And that's how we actually connect strings. Now, moving to another subject, we have something called escape characters. And escape characters are very, very important. And sometimes, and I'm just going to show you some examples later, you want to include some characters inside your string. But we know that those characters, they do have a special meaning. And if you just put them in your string, your program is not going to work. You're going to get some errors, and you will not know why that's happening. So for that reason, we do have what we call the escape characters that actually help us using those characters that have that special meaning. But if we want to use them, despite that fact, we can do that if we want to. So I'll just give you one example. For example, you see this $sign. Where is it? Here, this $sign. You see here, echo my name is $str1. Now, $sign in PHP basically means that's the variable. So the question is, what if I have a program that I'm supposed to show the $sign as this is the price? Again, if you just put the $sign by itself, the compiler here or the PHP engine will think that, oh, this is a variable. But while in reality, you're just trying to show me the $sign by itself as a character. So if we have a case like that, we have a special characters or escape characters that we need to know about. And it's basically a list of characters, and I'm going to show you how do they work. It's a long list, but we usually use some of them, not all of them. So like some of them are really, really popular and we use them a lot. So let's go ahead and talk about them. In this case, and I'm going to come here and show you this directly. When the compiler is going to get to this point, it's going to see $str1. The compiler will understand that, oh, this here is a variable which holds a value of Ahmed, and it's going to show it to the screen. But the question is, what if I just want to see the $sign? For example, I'm just going to come here down and say, echo, the price is $5. And let me just put a BR here, a semicolon. Now, when you look at it this way, the compiler will say, oh, 5. This should be a variable, but there is no variable called 5. So you probably will get nothing, or maybe you're not going to see the whole line printed on the screen. So let me just show you that. Now, if I refresh the page, the price is, and it's not showing you anything because basically the variable, there's no variable called 5 here. So if I want to actually make the compiler or the engine of PHP to show me the $sign, I need to put before the $sign the backslash $sign. Now look what's going to happen. If I go refresh the page, and here you can see $5. So now that we know about the $sign, let's go ahead and have a look at other escape characters. Now, what if I want to actually see the backslash character by itself? Now, if I save my work here, we know that the backslash one is going to be followed by a character. It will be interpreted into something. So because of that, this here, for example, backslash F will be interpreted into something, but since there's nothing after this backslash, it's probably going to be showing as it is. So we don't want to play that game of chances here. So if I want to actually see the backslash printed on my screen, I have to put double backslashes. Now if I just save my work and go here, refresh the page, you'll see that I have them all here. Let me just squeeze the font size to make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, that sounds like okay. Let me take this away. Now, what I'm going to be talking about right now is something a little bit different. We do have other escape characters, and if you go to any book or you search for escape characters, you will see it's a long list of escape characters. The thing is, with a lot of these escape characters, you will not be able to see the results on your browser. So as a part of the PHP programming language, it's there and it's supposed to do the job and it will get the job done. But when the results is going to be transferred from the server to your browser, the browser would just ignore the effect of these escape characters. And by those escape characters, I'm talking about the new /new n, new lines, /t, /r, /f, a lot of them. So in a lot of cases, even though we know we have those escape characters, but most of the time, you will not be able to see the results, not just because it doesn't work. Not because it doesn't work. It's basically because the results, when it's going to be transferred to your browser, it will just be ignored by the browser. So it's just going to go show to you normally as if nothing is there. Now, the part that I want to talk about right now is what if I want to put quotation marks inside my string. So look at this string here. I'm putting a single quotation mark here and a single quotation mark here. And because my main string is I started with the single quotations, I am allowed to put double quotations inside. But if you're starting with single quotation, you're not allowed to put single quotations within. It's like, for example, for the word 5, if I want to surround it with the single quotations, since the echo itself, the last echo, that statement that I have, is using single quotation to mark that string, then I cannot use it inside. I can use double quotations, and that will work perfectly fine. Now let me just show you that really quick. You can see now I have double quotations. Now what if I want to do the opposite? Well, no problem. All you have to do here is to change the main string to be a double quotations, and then inside you replace that with a single quotation. And if you put the / single quotation, let me just show you the results of that. Oh, it's still there. Do you see? So again, when you go and look at your book, they will tell you the / single quotation or double quotation, it should be escape characters to show those characters, but it will not. Again, it's doing it properly at the server side, but when it's going to come to your computer, it's not going to be actually interpreting it. So let me just go back and refresh the page again, and now I have the single quotation. So these are my escape characters, and this is just an examples of how do we use them. Now, when it comes to using the strings, we have mainly two different ways to include a string within, for example, an echo statement. The first one is called the simple string syntax, and the other one called the complex string syntax. And I believe it's related to an old version of the PHP comparing to a new version of the PHP. So sometimes when they update the programming language itself, they make some elements simpler and easier comparing to the old version of that programming language. But just because there are some people who stuck and refuse to leave that old style, they will just keep both of them available so you can use them. So what do I mean by that? Let me just demonstrate that concept here. Now, if I want to go here, let's look at this echo statement here. When I type $str1, this is me using the simpler or simple string syntax, and it worked. I showed you that. We also can surround this with double quotations, and I should get the same results with no problems. And you can see here no change was applied to this Ahmed here. So this here what we call a complex, and this here, where is it? Did I use it somewhere else? No. If I don't use those curly braces, it's going to be called simple syntax or simple string syntax. Now I remember when I was learning about PHP for the first time, it was just complex string syntax. We didn't have that simple one that I'm using these days. Now we're going to be moving on to another topic. And in this topic, we're going to talk about string functions. Now, for some of you, you may not know what's a function. And we will have a whole chapter to talk about that after this one. But a function is basically a predefined piece of code that is designed to get something done. And you, at this point are a user for a function. So you don't have to really know what's going on inside a function. As a user, all you need to know is how do you use a function. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be showing those functions and showing the functionality of these functions, and I'm going to be demonstrating them, of course. For simplicity, I'm going to be moving on. Instead of me going to my server and writing a code and all these kind of details, there are some tools that are available online that could help you, and I'm just going to use those tools right now, again, just for the purpose of testing my code, because previously, every time I want to try something, I have to write a code, and I have to save it, and I have to go back to the browser and run it. This tool here, this website that you see here, you can write your code here and see the result immediately. Again, this is not the way the right way to write a project in PHP. This is for only evaluation or for testing purposes. So let's start with the first function. The first function is basically will tell you how many characters you have inside a string. So what I'm going to do, I actually, just to save some time, already had a text file with all the codes and everything. So I'm just going to be copying and pasting most of the time. Now, this here is my string, testing, 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 and I for a reason, I started with uppercase, uppercase, lowercase, and I included a colon here, a comma here, a dot here, and a dollar sign here. So the first function here is going to tell me how many characters do I have there. Now, of course, you can have a variable and store that number there. For example, I can come here and say num equal, and I write the function, for example, strlen, that's the function name. Very important to understand. And I'll come here and type $str for the string that I have. And then I come here and say echo $num. And then I will follow that with PHP underscore end of line. Okay? Or I can immediately just copy this part and put it here and go with it. So this technique here, me writing this statement here, is basically me storing that number that's going to be returned inside num, and then I'm going to show it on the screen. Or again, if I don't care about storing the number, I can just copy this and put it here just to see how many characters I do have. So sometimes you might need to use this technique, sometimes you may not to use the other technique. But for simplicity and because I want to get this done fast, I'm just going to go with a single line, just like you see here. Now, if I run this, and you'll see the result here, this is telling me that there's 26 characters. And by 26 characters, I'm including the comma here, I'm including this space here, the dot here, the space here, and the dollar sign. Those two are going to be treated as a single character, just to let you know. So if you count them, you may think, oh, there's like 27 because there's this line here, the backslash. Well, no, those two together are treated as a single line. Why is this important? Well, for a lot of reasons. If you're planning on counting the number of characters you have in a string for any reason, then you have a function that will get that job done for you. Now, we have another function which basically going to tell you how many words you have in a string. And the number of words basically is going to be counted depending on how many spaces you have. So the function itself, it's called str underscore word underscore count. So what I'm going to do, again, for simplicity, just to make this video not go really, really long, I already had this created somewhere. So here's the name of the function. You're asking here how many words are inside the string. So now if I run it, it's going to tell me that I have 3 words. Okay, so that's my second function. The third function basically will change the characters to an uppercase characters. And I can do the same thing. I have another function that will change all the characters to be lowercase characters. So the function names itself, it's str to upper, str to lower. And here they are. So let's just go ahead and run it. So here, this is str to upper, str to lower. So that basically means it's going to scan the whole string and convert any alphabetic character that is a lowercase into an uppercase. And if it's already an uppercase, nothing's going to change. And of course, the second one will do the opposite. We'll change every single uppercase to a lowercase, and you can see the results down here. Now that we're done with this part, we are going to create a new string. And in this new string, I am going to test a little bit different types of functions. So let me just go ahead and put my new string. I'm going to call it str1, hello world test. And again, I am writing it this way for a reason. You can see here, this is lowercase h, lowercase w, and lowercase t. So the first function that we're going to see here is called UC first, uppercase first. Uppercase first basically will convert the first character in the string to an uppercase. Okay, so basically this H is going to be converted to an uppercase, but that's not going to be applied to the W, just the first letter here. And this is going to be a big deal, and let me show you what we mean by that. Because this is something you might want to do when you process strings. So let me just run it. And what's going on here? Oh, it's still loading. Okay. Lovely. Why is it taking too long? Okay, I'm just going to stop, reverse the page. This should not be happening. Yeah, I still have connection. Oh. Oh, look at this. Let's try again. I'm going to copy those lines that I wrote before. Take those spaces away. Okay, let's run it now and see. Okay, here it is. So hello, now it's uppercase H, as you can see here. Okay. Of course, we just like we have this UC first, we have another one called LC first. And for the LC first, what I'm going to do, for example, I'm going to change hello to be an uppercase H. And I'm going to give it a try. So let me copy this, go down here. I'm going to put LC. Now when you put LC, this is starting with an uppercase H. It should convert it to a lowercase h, as you can see here. And of course, nothing's going to be applied to the other ones. So those are functions basically, again, has a simple job. It's going to read the string, and then it's going to actually tell you, convert, the first letter to uppercase or first letter to a lowercase. The second function, or the third function we're going to test right now, that's not the third one. I don't know where is, in the counting, where am I? But the next one, let's go with that, is basically convert the first character of all the words into an uppercase and return a new string. So for example, let me just put this back to be an H, and let me put this to be a lowercase test. The third function is not just going to be handling the first character, it's going to be handling all the characters. Like we have 3 words, so the first character of the 3 words in str1 will all be converted to uppercases. And let's run that. And look at this, hello world test. All of them are uppercases. So you got those 3 options here that could help you convert, deal with the first character. Sometimes just the first character in the string. Sometimes all the words will be converted. There is no function called LC words that will convert the first letter to be lowercase. No, that doesn't exist. And because again, that makes sense to not exist. What's the point of actually doing that? So let's move on to the next group of methods. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new string with some spaces. So you can see here, STR2 has a lot of spaces here and has a lot of spaces here. Now, just for the purpose of testing, I'm going to echo $str2 dot php underscore end of line semicolon. Again, this is just for the purpose of testing. I forgot to do something here. I am going to come at the beginning and put an asterisk. So you'll see those spaces. And I'll come here and put an asterisk as well with the spaces. So now if I run it, you see that I have an asterisk here, and I have an asterisk here, and I have those spaces. Now, we are going to have, and we're going to talk about a new group of functions that has a job of trimming those ends. I don't want to see those ends in my string. So we have three group of functions that will get the job done. And they're all called trim. There's a trim, there's L trim, and there's the R trim. L trim is the leading trim. R trim is the rare trim. So trim by itself will take the spaces from the beginning and from the end. And L trim will just only take the spaces from the beginning, and the R trim will take the spaces from the end. So what I'm going to do here, I already have that function created. So I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to put it here. And by the way, I'm going to post this video, this file with all these commands in the page. So here it is. This is trim. This is L trim. This is rare trim. So what's going to happen? The trim will take this space away and will take this space away. The L trim will take only this space away. The rare trim will only take this space away. So if I evaluate it, you'll be able to see the results as you can see here. So this is the one that's taking all the spaces. This is taking only the leading space, so you still have the rare space, and this one will take the rare space away, so you still have the leading space away, still having the leading space in your experience. Again, the reason why I'm putting those asterisks, so you can actually see the space. So this is a space here. This is a space here. If I take those asterisks away, you might not be able to see the space because you would not know that there is actually a space here. And this is the group of functions that take responsibility of trimming the extra spaces you have in a string from the beginning and from the end. The next group of the next function, it's called substring. And substring basically will cut a string into cut piece of the string and return it. So this is very, very important to understand. It comes with a lot of varieties of parameters and arguments. So here, for example, in all the methods that I mentioned before, you can see here that I am putting str. Here I'm putting str1. So it's just a string that I'm trying to process. The next group of functions basically have more than just one parameter here. And the one that is used a lot, it's called substr. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy my string and I'm going to put it here. So here, example string, I'm calling this string woodworking project. And then I want to cut this substring and I want to keep part of it. So the first part here is very important. Let's just go ahead and start with that. We have a lot of options here. So here it is, substr, which is substring. You put the string and you put the character. Character here telling you which character you're going to start counting. Okay? So when you're going to run this, for example, we start counting 4 characters. So starting from here, this is going to be return, working project. So let me just run this. And if you go down, working project. So the 4 here is telling you where you're going to start counting. Where's the part where you're going to start counting? So I said 4. So I'm going to ignore those 4 characters. And starting from W, I'm going to be counting. And this is what's going to be returned. So basically, the wood is going to be trimmed. Sorry, it's not going to be trimmed. It's going to be taken out. And that's it. Now we have another option which is very similar to this one, only this time I'm going to put another character, another number, which is 7 in this case. And in this case, basically what I'm saying here, I want you to count 7 characters after after you start from we start counting from W here. I want you to give me 7 characters. So if I run it, you'll see that this will only give me working. Now, if I put, let's just count here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here it is. Those are my 7 characters that I am gonna return. So you can define the beginning, and if you don't define the end, the function is going to go all the way to the end of the string. You can define the beginning, and you can define the number of characters you want to get. Here's another example. 0 and 8. Now, when you put the word 0, basically you're telling the engine to start counting from the first character. Even though we start from the first character, we're using the digit 0. And then you count 8 characters, so I'm guessing this is going to be woodwork. I'm not guessing, I know it's going to be woodwork. And here it is, woodwork. Now the last part I'm going to be talking about there, we have 2 other options actually. And I'm going to show you those options. Now what if I put a negative number? Negative number basically means you're going to start counting from the right, from the end of your file, or your string, sorry. So you come from here, you count 7 characters, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And right up there from the 7 character, you give me the rest. So this is going to give me a project. And you can see here I got project. Now, of course, I can do the exact same thing by adding another parameter into the equation. So here I'm saying calculate 12 and 4 characters. So what do? You start from here, you go all the way 12 characters back, and then from that point you count 4 characters, and I'm guessing he's going to show me the word work. And oh, king, where's that coming from? Let's see. Oh yes, sorry. Because again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 is at K, and you count 4 characters, so it's giving me actually king. Sorry for that. Substring is the most used function when it comes to strings, not only in PHP, in any other programming language. So that's why it's really, really important to understand how does it work. And as you can see here, with all these strings that we had before, we only have 1 parameter, but with the substring, we have 2 parameters, 4 parameters. Those values play a major role on deciding how the function is going to act. So you see here, if you got a negative value, you're going to start counting from the rear. If you have a 0, you start counting from the beginning. If you have a 3rd parameter, that shows you the number of characters you're trying to cut. And that's the substring character. Now we have a new group of functions. It's called STRPOS, STR pose. Now, what does the STR pose do? Basically, it's going to perform a case-sensitive search and return the position of the first occurrence of the string inside that string you're looking for. Again, if that doesn't ring a bell, let's go ahead and have an example. So what I'm going to be doing, let me just copy the string again. And I'm going to put it here. So let's look at this string. What I'm saying here, I'm searching. Okay, this is what the function does. And then I'm searching what? I'm searching this string, which is woodworking project. And I'm searching for the word king. Okay, this function, as I said, it will return, it's a case-sensitive search, so you have to pay attention. If this is an uppercase, it would not work. And it's just going to return the position. Where's king in this string here? So let's go ahead and run this. It's 7. So if you go count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, you see, let's just count again. It's telling me it's 7. Okay? But here's what you need to understand. This is extremely important. When you start counting those words, characters, you start from 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, and here it is, 7. And that's why you see 7 here. Now, as I said, it's a case sensitive. So if I just repeat this with uppercase K, this is not going to give me 0, by the way, because if it's going to give me 0, that basically means I found it at the beginning. It's just basically going to give me nothing. It's going to give me false. That's what's going to give me. So let me just run it, and you can see here, there's nothing here. It's not showing anything. So again, STR POS basically will perform a case-sensitive searching, and when it's going to find whatever you're searching for, it's going to tell you where is it located at. Let's see here if we have another example. Do we have an uppercase? Let me just, yeah, this is important. I'm going to repeat this function, but this time I'm going to use my first string, which is str, and I'm looking for TES. So look here, I have a TES here and I have a TES here. And again, we said it's going to be looking for the first appearance of that TES. So that's, wait a minute, why it didn't work? Let's see. It should show me that it does exist. Huh. Let me put lowercase t and c. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I made a mistake. My bad. I just realized what I did wrong. All of these functions, I didn't put the new line thing. Let me just go back and do that. Now let's run it again. Let's go down. You can see here, this is a 7. This is where there's nothing when I was looking for a king with uppercase K. And now when I was looking for the T, I got 0 because it's basically located at 0. Now if I put lowercase t, it's going to tell me 18. And if you count, this is supposed to be at the position 18. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So that's what the str position, a string position, means. It's basically you are looking for a string, for the appearance of the first appearance of a string inside a string. One thing you should know that we always combine those functions together. So it's a good idea to have all the functions in front of you, and every time you'll be giving a task, you're going to have to play with those functions as a Lego game. You pick up pieces, you put them together to get a job done. Now, the second string that the second string function we're going to actually working on is called strchr, string character. Now, what the str character would do? Basically, it will find the first appearance of a string inside another string and return the rest of the string. So, the previous function, which is str pose, is going to return the location of it. This one is going to return the string itself. So, what do we mean by that? Let me just go ahead and show you. I am going to copy my line, and I'm going to go and put it here. I'm just going to put it here because it's related. So I'm telling here str testing. I'm going to be searching for testing, which basically is this one. So since I found it at the beginning, it's basically going to return the whole thing. Let me just run it so you'll see what do I mean by that. And here it's testing, testing, testing. Now look at here. If I just change this with lowercase test, it will basically return only this part. Let me run it. And you can see it's returning only. So the difference here between those two functions, this function here will return a number to tell you where can you find that substring, this TES. This one, it's not going to return a number, but it's basically going to return the beginning of that string and all the way to the end. You can see here, I'm looking for testing without the $sign, but here it's showing me the $sign. Okay, for simplicity, if I come here and change this character to be R, okay? Now if I come here and change this to be R, resting, look what's gonna happen. Resting, testing. So basically, it found resting here, so it's just basically gonna return the whole string back. And that's what this STR does. Now we have another one very similar. It's called STR RCHR. So there's an extra R in this area. And that one will also perform a search, but the search is going to be done from the end of the searching of the string and return all the characters from the position all the way to the end. So it's basically should do the same thing. This one here, let me just copy this. Let me copy this. Oh yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to return this one to be uppercase test. And let me show you what do I mean by that. That's how different those two functions are. You see, and then you put testing here. Now, this one here, for example, the regular one, when it's going to look for testing, you're going to see the testing is here. So basically, it's going to return the whole thing. The other one is going to start searching from the back. So it's going to go back all the way here, and it's going to find testing here. So it's going to return this part back. So this is the difference. You see, previously, I found the test here, so I returned everything. Since I'm searching from the back, I'll basically get the first appearance for testing starting from the rear of that string. So if I run it, you'll see here, testing, testing with a lowercase t, and this will basically return everything else. I know it's too much, but again, if you think about it, each one of them individually, it's not that complicated. Now, we do have a function, another function, it's called STR replace. Now, from the name, you should know what does it do. It basically replaces strings, and it's a case insensitive. It's not a case sensitive. It's basically going to search a string inside a string for a string inside and replace it with a string. Again, let me just repeat it. You have a string that contains multiple words, and you're going to search for a string inside that string, and you're going to try to replace it with another string. So let's just go ahead and have an example so that will make sense. Remember, this time we're going to have 3 arguments or 3 parameters. So what I'm going to do here, let me just go ahead and copy my, and I'm going to put it here. This is going to basically research STR. Remember here, this is STR. What am I searching STR for? I'm searching STR for the word testing with a lowercase test. And I'm going to be replacing it with the word joker. The order here is important. So you should understand that you're looking for, inside the string STR, you're looking for the word testing to be replaced by joker. So basically, this testing here is going to be replaced by joker. Let me run it. Come on. It's here. So you can see here, it was replaced by joker. Now remember here, this is a sensitive searching process. If I want to have, it's a case sensitive. So only testing with a lower test will basically be implemented. Now, what if I copy that? And what if I want to perform a search for case instant? All I have to just put I here. And that basically will perform what we call a case insensitive search. So this is a case sensitive version of this replace. Now, basically, since testing here is going to be performed with insensitive case situation, so this testing, and this testing will be actually replaced by the word joker. And you can see here, joker, joker, joker. Okay, now we still have 4 other functions left, and we'll be done with this part, and we'll be done with the whole section of this chapter. And the first one is called the STR token. And the STR token basically will break your string into little strings. Now remember here, replace, pros, str, all these functions basically will cut your string and return part of it, mostly, or replace part of your string. For example, if you go to the substring, basically you're cutting part of that string is going to be returned. This is you searching. This is your searching. This is your replacing. But again, what if I have a string that contains multiple words and I want to read each word individually? Okay, or not each word individually. I want to cut my big string into small strings, but instead of just getting one part of that small string, I want to get the whole string divided into multiple sections. Let me just show you an example to make some sense. I have a string that I have here, and let me just go ahead and put it here. It's called presidents. Now in the presidents here, I have the name of the presidents. Now what did I do? I separated those president with a semicolon here. You can choose anything. I would not advise to use a space because the space here is used to separate the first name from the last name. So I'm using column. You can use a dash, you can use colon, semicolon, whatever you choose, you just have to stick with this. My job here is that I want to have this to be printed, this to be printed, this to be printed, and this to be printed, and this to be printed, each one of them individually. So how do I get this done? We have something called arrays, and we covered the arrays last week. So what I'm going to be doing, basically, I am going to, let's see here, did I miss? Yeah, token, okay. Well, yes, I jumped actually a little bit further, but let me just continue with this. The STR token basically will split my string into those small strings and show them on the screen. We're going to talk about arrays later. So how do I get this done? For example, I need to come here and type str s. I'll show you more examples of how to handle this case. So I have two, and let's create a 3 here. This 3 is going to equal, and this is very important, str toc, and you put the presidents here, and you put a comma, and then you put a character here. What characters you want to use to actually separate those presidents? I'm using a semicolon because the semicolon here is used to separate those presidents. Now I put a semicolon here. Now let's go ahead and create a while loop. And in this while loop, what I'm going to be trying to do is I am going to try to show those presidents one by one. Now this is not my favorite one, to be honest. And I'll say doesn't equal null. So as long as this null basically means empty, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be reading in one by one using that token. So I'm going to go here, echo $str3, and of course I will say and offline PHP, sorry, line, semicolon. And you have to actually come here and type this after that. str3 equal str token again, and you have to put the token back, because with every single iteration is going to look for the next token. So at the beginning, this is me looking for the token for a president, which basically is going to get that job done here. And then after that, it's going to show me the first president, and then it's going to look for the second token. So it's going to take James here, and then it's going to Thomas, and then James again, and James again. A lot of James here. So let me just show you how this is going to work. If I go down to the bottom, and you can see here, I got all the presidents printed in this format. Now you just need to know this basically here will give you that access, and now you can show them on the screen. And I basically was able to break down the name of those presidents into smaller strings, and then I was able to show them on the screen. Of course, if I want to save them somewhere, I can have a variable and store them each one at a time, or I can have an array to get the job done. So this is, again, one way to get the job done. If you have a string and you want to break down your string into a smaller strings, you want to have them all, and you need to have the character that's going to separate them. That's very important. We have another function that can work in the same field. It's called the STR split. STR split basically is going to convert this into an array directly, and you will have access to that array elements. We'll see how that's going to work. So let me just go ahead and see that. I'm going to come here and create STR 4 in this case equal STR underscore split. Okay, and then after that I will put the president's name here. And let me just go down here, and I am gonna, since I know now str4 is gonna be an array, I can go here and use for each, and I will come here, well, this is the for each, so we'll say str4 as, let's say, x. So we're gonna have x for each one of those elements. So echo $x dot PHP underscore end of line semicolon. Now let's give this a run and see what's going to happen. Do you see what just happened here? You see the difference between the first one. First of all, this one didn't convert it into an array. Let's just put it that way. It basically just break down the string into those small strings and show them on screen, and that's it. It's not an array. str3 is not an array. But I was able to have access to the strings one by one because I chose that the comma here is going to be the separator. This split basically will get a job very similar to what you see here, but only is going to be applied at a level of characters. So you can see here, characters, 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 characters. That will work, okay, but again, that's in case you want to actually convert your string into an array of characters, but that's not the case all the time. What you can do here, you can put a number. For example, I'll put 5. So what is going to happen here? It's going to take every single 5 characters and put them together. Of course, this is not going to work. It's not going to give me anything meaningful. So you can see here, GEORG and then EWWAS and then HITIO and so on. So you can see here, it doesn't make that much. It will make sense if you know that all your strings are going to have the exact same number of characters. Then yes, this could be used for that purpose. But again, str split basically is going to break down your string into single characters. Now, what if I want something very, very similar, okay, but I want to have the strings. So what I want to do, I want to have something like this to give me a result similar like this. This one, again, remember here, this is not going to create an array. It's just going to basically print and show you those values one by one. If you want to have an array, you have to manipulate this code to be able to get an array out of it. But lucky for us, there is a function that can actually get that job done. And that function is called explode. I know that doesn't make that much of sense, but let's go ahead and have a look at it. I decided here to create a president array, and I'm calling the function explode here. And then I'm putting a semicolon as a separator, and I'm putting the presidents, which is my string here. Look at this. This one a little bit different than the token one. In the order is the opposite. But guess what? If you switch them, it should not have any problems. Anyway, so what do I have here? I have this array. I'm converting the name of string presents here into an array of strings, and I'm using the semicolon here as a separator. Now I can use the same concept if I go ahead and have the for each function. So president array in president, remember this is president, this is presidents. This should show me the president's names printed one by one. Now if I go down, you can see that I have them all here printed on the screen. Now the last function we're going to talk about, it's implode. And the implode basically will do the opposite of the explode, which basically is going to take an array and convert it into a one long string. So remember, previously I had a long string, I break it down into an array of strings. Now I'm going to take one string and put it in a form of a single string. So I'm going to have to do that here. I'm going to say $str5 equal implode. And then you're going to have to put the president's, $, it's here, president array. Let me just copy it and put it here. Now, if I just keep it like this, let me just show you what's going to happen. If I go and echo str5 $, PHP end of line, it's basically going to do something you don't really going to like. So let's just go show it to you. If I go all the way to the bottom here, oh, did I have a mistake somewhere? I had a mistake. He didn't like something here. Oh, $, I forgot. Let's go ahead and do that again. Look at the icon here at the top. The moment it gets green, I can go and check. Look at this. You can see here there's no space here between those elements. So if I want to actually have a space here, all I have to do is to come here and put a space. I can put a comma and a space if I want to. I can put an arrow if I want to. You can put anything you want to separate them with. Okay, so I'll just go with an arrow, for example. Now let me run it. And if I go all the way to the bottom, you'll see the president's. Did I make a mistake again? Oh, here it is, sorry. Okay, he's complaining about something. He doesn't like the order of the parameters here. So he said, instead of doing it this way, even though it worked, put it this way. And okay, we'll do that. Since the explode is going semicolon the name, so we'll just do the same thing here. So if I go to the bottom, you can see here all the names are printed in the order that I wanted. Okay, so this will be the end of this part of the class. And just like I said at the beginning of this this video, we're going to break down this chapter into two parts. So the first part is going to be covered today. Next week, we're going to cover the second part when it comes to regular expressions, how do we test, and how do we compare between strings. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.